Hi, everybody. I'm Coach Miller at AB. Zach, am I good to share my screen?
Yes, yeah, you should be able to.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to talk to you all today. I'm really excited actually to go after the folks at Penn State because it's a great contrast. We are a very different program from the folks at Penn State, and we're still a very competitive program. We are a varsity program, but we're a very different school. And I think that when people are looking at colleges and looking at all of the opportunities available to them, it's important to know the differences in terms of types of school, types of campus, and different levels and types of rugby that they can compete in. So I'll just give you a little bit of information about us and who we are, where we've been, and where we're going. We are Alderson Broaddus Rugby. We are a full varsity program in Philippi, West Virginia. We're in rural West Virginia at a very small school, about 1,000 students total. So totally opposite from the experience that Coach Kate was talking about with a big school. We still offer a ton of majors. We have over 25 majors offered here at AB. We're primarily health sciences focused and liberal arts focused. But the important thing to know is that we are a full varsity program for both men and women, which means we are funded, we have professional coaching staff, and we do offer scholarships for our athletes. I was hired in June of 2018, and prior to that, there was no rugby here at all. No rugby, no club, nothing. We're only 3 years old, 2.5 really. And at the end of my first year, this was the motley crew that we had put together, a couple of on-campus recruits and unique recruits that had been recruited to come play rugby here. And this was our first sevens group that we played a season in about 2.5 years ago. This was us a year later after our first recruiting class. So I run both the men's and the women's programs here at AB. We do everything together. It's a really cool and unique piece of our program. We train together, we work together. We're one program with 2 separate competitions. And this is us after our first year of recruiting with a very large freshman class. As you can imagine, we've built on that now that we're into our 3rd year. And we'll talk a little bit more later about the level of competition, where we compete, who we compete against, as well as the unique pieces of our school. This is where we're located. We're in Philippi, West Virginia. We are in the mountains. We're in a town of about 3,000 people. We are 35 minutes from a major highway. We are in a small, close-knit community. And so if you're someone who likes to hike, if you like to camp, if you want to fish, if you want to be outside, that's what we have to offer. The students on our campus are people who want to be a part of a small town environment and a close-knit community, and who want to compete for this town and for this school. This is our campus. We're literally located on top of a mountain looking over this little town. You can see the whole town from campus. It's absolutely beautiful here. And it's a big contrast from some of the schools that are located in cities and some of the very large schools. We're a very small school. So if you're looking for a place that has a great professor to student ratio, we absolutely have that. We also have a great coach to player ratio here. And this is who we are now. This is us in our 3rd year. We are building a professional program. We are building a program that wants to compete at a high level and wants to continue to grow every single year. And, we've been able to do that even through the pandemic. And we're really excited to be able to compete this spring with our teams. So just a little bit of information about me and who I am. I've competed since I was about 14 years old. As an athlete, I won 3 national championships, competed in Colorado with the Glendale Raptors, and this is my 5th year working in college athletics. Before I was here, I was an assistant coach at Life University. And of course, I competed on the national team as well for about 6 years. Coach Kate and I were teammates, and we've actually known each other for years, but lots of Eagles out coaching now, which is great to see. And we won't go into all of these details, but just to echo what some of the coaches said previously, this is all about your academics and where you're going to go after college. And so what we're looking to create is a college experience that includes rugby. Rugby is a cornerstone of your experience at AB. We'll just go through a couple of questions that I get all the time, and the questions that I think you should be asking of coaches as you're going through the process and learning. Okay, focusing on campus size and location. We're a really unique school. There's not a lot of schools located in the part of the country where we're located, and not everyone wants to go to a small school. If you want to be at a small school, you're an absolute fit here, but it's not a fit for everyone. And knowing that ahead of time is really important. Academic programs. We are health science and liberal arts focused. We have a great business program. We have a great criminal justice program. We have the best nursing school in the state of West Virginia and the oldest physician assistant program in the country. But if you're not interested in some of those majors, then looking at, for example, engineering isn't something that we offer. And so if you're interested in engineering, we're probably not a fit. Rugby team status. We are a varsity program, and our women this year have moved into NYRA, which is an NCAA program. And so if you're a female athlete, one of the important things to remember is that I can't talk to you, I can't recruit you until you're at least a junior. So if you're a sophomore or younger, you're welcome to email us, but don't be surprised if you don't hear back until you're a junior. In June of your junior year is when we'll get back to you. Building relationships with coaches and teams. Through the recruiting process, communication is the most important piece for us. We want to get to know you, especially now that we're in a pandemic and visiting campus can be really hard. We want to get to know you guys and learn whether or not you're a fit for our team and for our program. So email is incredibly important. Getting on a phone call with you and your family to learn if we're a good fit, to build those relationships, that's really something that matters to us because we want to know you as much as we can before you end up on our campus. Looking at what status is the rugby program. And so again, we are an NCAA program and for the women's side, and understanding that there are certain academic requirements that we have. Minimum high school GPA needs to be at 2.2. Also have to make sure that your GPA is high enough to be accepted into the university prior to attending. An understanding of how much rugby you want to play. We are a full-time program. Just like Coach Kate was talking about earlier, we have 4 to 5 days of rugby training every week, including weekends. In season, you only get 1 off day. And so understanding that this is very different from a club environment, we expect a lot from our athletes. Figuring out what do students do here for fun. So our campus has a lot of school spirit. Our campus is 70% athletes. Everyone goes out to games, basketball games, football games. Obviously, during the pandemic, that's not something we're able to do on this campus, but we are, in the middle of one of the most beautiful states in the country. And so being located outside of the Monongahela National Forest is something that our students definitely take a lot of advantage of. And finally, the cost of attendance and financial aid. Understanding that we do offer rugby scholarships for our athletes, but not everyone receives a rugby scholarship, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that you're not getting financial aid, and that doesn't mean that you're not on our roster and that you're not someone that we want within this program. And so we've talked about building relationships with those coaches. We want to help you through the process of understanding what kind of financial aid is available to you and how do you get it. And that's something that we want to have open conversations about through the process to understand, can we get you an academic scholarship? Can we help you complete your FAFSA so that we're able to get that information to see what's available to you through institutional, in-state, or out-of-state grants. And finally, visiting campus is really the most important piece. We want people who want to be here, number one, because everyone who we recruit for this program is a part of the team. We don't hold tryouts, but if, for example, in the middle of a pandemic, we're not able to compete, we want people who want to be on this campus no matter what. We want to make sure that you're a fit for our community and for our school. And so if you are able to, we highly recommend visiting campus. During the pandemic, we have been able to run a virtual combine, and I will put a link to that in the chat as soon as we're done. We do a virtual combine that allows you to do a coach interview, a webinar, and a skill assessment. You can send us film. We know it's been really hard to do film over the past year. And, we would love to see a full game. We would love to see clips of you, but we know many people don't have it. And many of our recruits haven't even competed since their sophomore year. So we want to give an opportunity for you to do your own skill assessment and your own at-home skill work and fitness work, which you can send to us through our virtual combine. And I'll put information about that in the chat in a second. So just a little bit of information about the college rugby landscape. NYRA is where our women compete. We are a Division II program. We compete against teams like Westchester, American International College, Notre Dame College, Queen's University of Charlotte, all of us are Division II NCAA programs. We started with NCR for our women's team, small college division for both our men and our women last year. Our men are still NCR teams. They compete in Division II of NCR. And we hope every year to build and develop, and one day eventually move our men's team into CRAA. That's multiple years down the road, but we like to talk to our recruits about where we could see ourselves, because this is a 4-year process for our athletes here, a 4-year commitment for them. So the expectations of our student varsity athletes. First and foremost, everyone is here to be a student. School comes before rugby. I think every coach here will echo that. We want to make sure that our athletes understand that coming in, that you are here to be a student, and that your ability to be in class predicts whether or not you'll be able to be a part of the rugby team. We don't want to have athletes come in who find themselves academically ineligible and not able to compete. But there's a lot of things between your academic achievement and rugby that help you get there. So this is just a little bit of our coaching philosophy and some of the things we want our athletes to be aware of, that health and safety, community support, your ability to enjoy and have fun, your motivation and action, all of these things lead to your academic achievement and then your ability to actually compete and play rugby. And so we spend a lot of time working on the skills required for our athletes to, make sure that they're achieving everything that they can in the classroom and then on the rugby team as well. And of course, all of this is evidence-based. It's all based in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so we want to make sure that our athletes understand that everything we're doing as coaches is based in evidence and that there's reasons why we're doing what we're doing. I know that everyone wants to know about a weekly schedule and how much our teams are competing and what they're doing. We compete, this is what an off-season schedule would look like for our team. 4 days a week of training, 2 off days. This particular schedule has 1 match, not a league match, but a developmental match. In season, what you can expect is 4 days of training and 2 to 3 days in the gym, Saturdays, game day, and then Sunday as an off day. It's pretty similar to most of the programs that you're going to see at the varsity level. There are times when our fitness and our on-field training may end up in the same time block, but we expect our athletes to do 4 on-field sessions a week and then 2 to 3 sessions in the gym in addition to game day. And then Sundays are typically our off day. I'm going to go ahead and put our combine information in the chat, but I'm happy to open it up to questions if anybody has any.
Any questions from anyone out there? I just had one. I would say, what do you think is the #1 thing that a player would get out of going to Alderson Broaddus to play rugby, different than other schools? Good
question. I think that our campus environment is really unique. I think that most people don't get the opportunity to live in rural West Virginia, and it's really a wonderful experience. It's something that it's a different part of the country than anywhere else. And having a small school experience is so incredibly different than most people have, in college. And I think the relationships you build in a small school and the family environment that's created is really special. And the alumni network you get from that is something that you can really take into a career.
And then similar to the question I asked earlier of the coaches at Penn State, what do you think is something that prospective players can work on, or in their game to help them transition from the high school game to the college game at Alderson Broaddus?
I think that what many high school players need to know coming in is that the amount of rugby they're going to play, if they want to play for a varsity program, is really going to jump. Most high school programs are going to maybe train twice a week and have a game on weekends. And we're expecting 5 to 6, maybe even 7 days a week of commitment to a program. And, it's not so much something you can work on ahead of time, but an expectation that they should have coming into a program that this is a job, it's part of, it's not your number one job, which is to be a student, but it is a major cornerstone of your college career. And the expectation that this is something that is going to be challenging, it's hard work, incredibly rewarding and important, but the understanding that it's something that is going to take up a lot of time.
Great. Any other questions?
I have a question for Coach Laura.
Go ahead.
My question is, I think you said you're the head coach for both men's and women's,
Yep.
which is awesome. I mean, thank you for stretching yourself like that. But my question, do you find that a stretch? And then my daughter's a female, obviously. And so would she be working with you or like with one of the assistant coaches? And if she is working with, say, an assistant coach more so than you,
Yeah,
like,
good.
what are their credentials like?
Yeah, I have two assistants. They're both wonderful. One, it was the head coach of the West Virginia men's program before he worked here with me. He's been here with me for the last 3 years. His name's John Baker. The other is Coach Emily Poulin, and she was one of my players. She played for me previously at Life University, and I recruited her to come work with me here after she graduated. We do everything together as program. So normally what we do is we have the men and women training at the same time, but in separate spaces on the field, separate halves of the field. And I'm usually coordinating the entire training, but my assistant coaches are running different pieces, and I'm working with different groups at different times. So there's a lot of coordination that the three of us work together to do. We work really well together. I am the head coach of both programs, so I don't, just focus on one and then have my assistant coach run the other. There are very rare times when I might send one of my assistant coaches to run a game versus myself if the two teams are split. But that hasn't happened very often. I think that's maybe happened once in the 3 years we've been here.